Hello there. In today's video, I'm just going to take a look at bullying in the workplace and what you can do if you find that you are being bullied in the workplace. Unfortunately, there's no specific legislation which deals with bullying. There's no anti-bullying legislation in Ireland. There are a number of legal avenues you can pursue. You must be aware, though, that your employer can be held vicariously liable for bullying by another employee. So if a colleague of yours, for example, was bullying you, then you could bring a claim and your employer could be held liable through vicarious liability for the conduct of that other employee. Clearly, if your employer is bullying you as well, then you would be bringing a claim or some sort of an action against the employer. You do need to consider, before taking any action though, or choosing any legal avenue or having any paths in relation to a complaint or claim, you should exhaust all internal grievance procedures first. So your workplace should have an anti-bullying procedure or policy in place. This may involve you firstly telling your bully or the person who is bullying you that their behaviour is inappropriate and unacceptable and that you consider it to be bullying, and the things that prevent them from continuing. After that, if that is of no benefit, then clearly you have to go through whatever policy is in the workplace. You should exhaust that fully and ensure that the employer knows that you've put them on notice that somebody is bullying you and that you're having this difficulty. If nothing further is done, then the legal remedies are basically you can sue the employer, for example, for breach of contract. The employer has implied term or implied obligation to provide you, and a specific statutory obligation to provide you with a safe place of work. So basically you'd be claiming that there was breach of contract for failing to do that due to the difficulties that you experience. You could bring a claim for negligence against your employer. In other words, that you have suffered an injury, like a personal injury, non-physical personal injury perhaps, and that the employer ought to have known or did know because you told them through the internal grievance procedure what the difficulty was, and that essentially the employer is negligent. This would be like a personal injuries claim basically. You haven't or don't suffer a broken leg or a broken arm, but you could suffer a psychiatric or psychological injury, which would be, no less serious. You could bring a claim then under health and safety legislation against the employer. The employer has a statutory obligation to provide a safe place of work and a safe method of work, and so on. You could actually report the employer to the health and safety authority. The health and safety authority, in fact, could then pursue the employer and prosecute under the criminal or get criminal sanctions against the employer. You could bring a claim for under the equality legislation if you're for harassment, particularly if the bullying was related to one of the 9 grounds of discrimination. So it may well be a bullying and harassment claim. You could, if all comes to all, and if you have exhausted the internal remedies, nothing is working, you're still experiencing the pain of bullying, you are suffering, your health is suffering, your home life is suffering, this is quite common, you could then clearly have no option but to leave the job and bring a claim for constructive dismissal. This is where you're left with no option but to leave because of the conduct of the employment or in the employment. Nothing has been done, you've done your best to resolve the difficulty and nothing has worked. You could then bring a claim for constructive dismissal. Before you embark on any of these courses, though, ensure that you get legal advice, because you do need to be careful that the conduct that you're complaining of is in fact bullying. It cannot be a one-off incident or sort of general rudeness or something like that. It must be repeated inappropriate behaviour, and any tribunal or any court will look at the behaviour over a period of time to decide whether it is truly bullying in terms of the legal definition of bullying, which the courts have set at a fairly high bar. My name is Terry Gorry. You can contact me there. The best way to get me is probably through email. I hope that you do not suffer from bullying, but if you do, I hope that this video has been helpful for you.